Some of the current trends and practices that a lot of museums are using right now would include visible or theme storage. This is not new, but it is a great way for the visitors to come and see what the staff does at the museum, what collections they don't normally get to see, and experience it in different ways. So in the Provincial Museum of Newfoundland and Labrador here, there are some drawers with some artifacts that kids can kind of pull out and look at. It's a great way to show a lot of your collections in a very compact space that isn't easily available. And in the middle, you can't really see it, but it says, "I'm cleaning a saber-toothed tiger cat shoulder blade." So they have people, the staff working there behind glass, and she's actually just working, and you can see what she's doing as the museum is open. Personalized visits with devices. This is a good way to show exhibitions in alternative formats. So you can use cell phones, audio tours, or comment stations. There's a couple comment stations in the gallery, and we'll look at them a little bit later. On the left here is something in Toronto called Murmur, and you see these little green ears. And you just take your cell phone and you call a number and you get a story about the specific location within the city. So it's not actually a museum space, but it's a nice way to experience things differently.
And that's a great way to include some of the things that we were talking about in Gia's intangible history, that whether you're an exterior space or an interior space, that allowing these opportunities for audio, it's a different way to experience an exhibition. And what's really exciting is young people like to create their own tours. I mean, with iPods now and downloading music and information, wouldn't it be great to have all these different tours available online, and people can create their own tours and create their own experiences of a place. And that is important too, for people to feel that accessible to a collection or to an exhibition, is that they can create their own tours of that space.
Integrated media is something we're seeing a lot more, where you adapt different formats so that it's interdisciplinary and inclusive. So on the left is Tafel Music, and they played at the Beijing Museum of Natural History. Kind of challenges the visitor to think of things differently. You know, you wouldn't think of hearing classical music in front of some dinosaurs, but maybe you experience something differently with the music and looking at the dinosaurs by presenting these things in different ways. In the middle, Smithsonian did The Ghost of a Chance, which was an alternate reality game, and they had many of their institutions come together, and people came in and they created artifacts, and the winner actually had one of their created artifacts put into a case on display. So it was an interesting way of getting the visitor involved in a different way.
Right. And this again goes back to this idea of the museum as stage or as ambiance as well, is that we have powerful places, and why not come to the museum for other reasons? Hear a concert, see a movie, interact with, doing some kind of a game. That we have to think of our spaces as stages for other kinds of events, and that's how we draw attendance. It would be great if they're free, so it's surprising. You come to the place and you might see a concert that you didn't have to pay for, but it was surprising and exciting. And again, this idea of leveraging partnerships and relationships. If 3 or 4 different institutions can get together and create a little festival or an activity or a game around the collections, around the stories, you're always reinventing yourself. You're always being new, which is great.
So building on the outdoor interpretation for the Murmur in Toronto, you can bring the museum outside, and there's many ways of doing that. Think beyond interpretive signage, not just how to find your way, but maybe experiencing something outside. So say there's a bench outside, but you can listen to something while you're there, or there's signs outside that have a little bit more information and messaging. It's still kind of quiet, and the main source of information is still inside, but there's subtle ways of putting messaging outside as well, and different ways of experiencing. So helping visitors to connect, this is the intangible. So there's intimate personal stories that can help institutions come alive. And this focuses a lot on becoming relevant. Why is it important? Why are we passionate about museums? Why do we want to tell these stories? It's a great way to learn about gender roles and age roles and the different ways that processes have changed today and in the past. For example, the NMAHC, which is the National Museum of African American History and Culture. It's a mouthful.
It's going to be the last new museum on the Washington Mall, so it's actually really exciting. Yeah.
And right now, that's a snapshot of their website, but they are collecting oral histories online and creating a collection right now. So, and you can go online and listen to other people's stories that they have recorded through the museum.
The other example is the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, which is currently in development. And what we're helping them do is we're going across Canada to collect stories, human rights stories, so gender stories, sexual orientation, crimes against humanity, those kinds of things. And what is particular about those stories that is Canadian? So when you experience the museum, you're hearing the real voices of Canadians in that place. So again, this opportunity for storytelling and experiencing the museum in a different way is very exciting.